Icon Radio, your number one entertainment plug.
Good morning. This is Icon Radio. My name is Newton Hamasi, and this is your favorite show. Bold, authentic, and fearless political discussion. Today, in studio, I have a young female presidential candidate. Please follow us at Icon Radio KE on our social media platforms, that is Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Tune in, and my co-host is
Sami Myra.
Thank you very much, Sami. Thank you, Dorothy, for coming to the show this morning.
Thank
to
you
our
for
listeners,
having me.
Today it's politics,
Yes.
and we are in to talk politics.
Okay.
Our guest today, she's a young person. And as we've been talking on this show, we are looking at young people being the champions on this race for political positions. Dorothy, she's an astute business person who has experience in leadership. She has led different organizations from WOSWA, and here she is, determined to be the President of the Republic of Kenya. Dorothy,
Yes, Newton.
are you sure?
What do you mean, am I sure? Explain that question.
Politics is not a game.
Who said we're playing?
Are you certain?
What do you mean?
Are you certain?
I'm going to vie and I'm going to be the president come 2022.
Wow. Impossible is nothing.
What do you mean by impossible?
I'm seeing a lot of possibilities here. If you can stand up and say, yes, you're going for the presidency,
Yes.
that means a lot. So tell us, Dorothy,
Yes.
what's your vision for the country?
My vision for the whole country, for a group of people, I'd like to answer that by starting from where we are as a country and what we need as a country and what the country means to me.
Yes.
So, of course, we need to focus on our current state of affairs, whereby the youth are in a hopeless stage or hopeless state, where we have a lot of educated young people who cannot access meaningful jobs or jobs that can sustain them.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm looking at the industrialization aspect of this country, whereby we are shutting down factories day in, day out.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm looking at our GDP contributors, agriculture, which has not been given priority for a very long time. I'm looking at issues around the service sector, which currently actually is the largest contributor to our GDP, and what we can do to improve it, how can we make it better. And I'm looking at industries, like I said earlier, and what we can do, like how can we add value within our industries, how do we put Kenya in a position that we are able to compete internationally, not just within Africa. How do we increase our labor freedom, like making sure that the kind of skill set our young people are coming out with, or our older people as well, and the extremely young, what are we training them? Is whatever they're getting or the knowledge they're getting going to be applicable? Because yes, I know we've been a developing country for a very long time, but I think it's time we start thinking of how to transition to the next level. And for me, my vision is putting Kenya in a platform where we can compete internationally.
Wow.
Kenya can be the first country within Africa that falls in the first world.
Thank you very much, Dorothy. Sami, you know, I'm listening to Dorothy and I'm seeing inspiration. What do you feel about this?
It's just like you've said. It's very inspiring. It's very, very bold. But I actually have a question.
Please.
One of the things that people say is leaders are born, not made. Others say leaders are made. But I'm also just curious to know, who is Dorothy? What is your background? Where do you come from? What kind of upbringing did you get to get you to a place where at your young age young at heart.
Women don't grow old, so I can be young in whatever
Yes.
context.
But what is your background? Where were you born? What kind of educational background do you have? And how or where did you get the inspiration to go into leadership?
Thank you, Sami, for the question. I've always been a leader. I'm the firstborn in the family, so maybe I started leading from birth. But I've also grown up in an environment that has encouraged me to dream bigger than normal. They've created a good support system, both my parents, education-wise. They've ensured that I get what they believe is best for me. So my highest level of education is I have a master's in procurement and logistics. And I know this country, we are struggling around procurement issues. So I have the technical know-how from my experience and from my theoretical learning. I'm very proficient in that. And I got this actually in the public sector. I've mostly studied in public institutions from my primary school. Secondary school, I had a stint on both private and public, but my campus education or tertiary learning was University of Nairobi with Newton, of course. So he can vouch that we went to school when the time comes. We were actually in school together. And then, of course, my master's was in Jomo Kenyatta. So I do have, as much as, yes, I was given these opportunities, but I think I was exposed to what the government can offer. And I'm here. Yes.
Wow. Dorothy,
Yes.
do you know who you're competing with?
Yes. I know who I'm competing.
You know.
But it's not a competition, Newton, in this sense.
Yeah.
Public leadership
Yes.
is a vocational role. You understand? It's not a competition.
Yes.
And I think even the two gentlemen who, actually one hasn't formally declared, he said he'll declare on the 9th of December. But the other one who's, of course, at the front race running for this thing. We all want the same thing for the country, which is, of course, create better opportunities for the country.
Very true.
And this being a vocational role, at the back of our mind, of course, yes, there is personal ambition, but the top seat is actually an opportunity for us to serve Kenyans, which is a public office, which means it's an office that belongs to the Kenyans. You understand?
Yes.
You're just put there as a custodian to actually lead the nation and maybe give guidance. You understand? So I don't see them as really competition in that sense. I just see them as people who want good things for the country.
Now, Dorothy,
Yes.
if I were you,
Yes.
and we have been in politics together,
Yes.
back in campus,
Yes.
this is not the time I would wish to be the president of the Republic of Kenya.
Why is that?
We are having a lot of challenges as a country. One, we have economical
Yes.
challenge.
Yes.
We have insecurity challenge.
Yes.
The threat of terrorism.
Yes.
We have an education sector that is not working.
Yes.
We have had instances of where kids are burning schools left, right, and center.
Yes.
We have a bad labor force
Okay.
in that there's no employment in this country.
Yes.
Dorothy,
Yes.
don't you think you would have maybe waited until the country is in a better place for you to try this? Because as a country, you are in a bad place. But again, as I pose that to you,
Yes.
Sami, challenges come.
Yes.
And as a country, we are in a bad place.
Yes.
We are trying to recover from COVID. Dorothy.
Yes.
Actually, let me put it this. Let me say we're in an interesting place where a lot of the different sectors are challenged, heavily challenged.
Yes.
And it would be interesting to know, and I think what Newton is also asking is, at what point did you decide, or what triggered in your mind that this is it, this is the time, this is when I should?
Maybe Dorothy, before you just respond to that, our listener, let us take a quick break and we'll be right back. Follow us on Icon Radio KE on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And let us keep the discussion going. At Icon Radio, the race, we are bold, authentic, and fearless in our discussions. Thank you.
Icon Radio, your number one entertainment plug.
Welcome back. This is Icon Radio KE. Follow us on our Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook pages. And let us continue with the discussion. Today in studio, we have Dorothy. And as I said, we are bold, authentic and fearless in our discussion. We left at a point where, Dorothy,
Yes.
our country is in a bad state.
Yes.
Why now?
I don't think we're in a bad state. I think we are at a state whereby we can reset
Yes.
and create a new ideology, create a new concept, create a more sustainable the country we want to see, and I want to be part of that process. I remember you asked issues around education, the economy, of course,
Yes.
and security. So within our manifesto, there is something that we want to really focus on when it comes to security.
Yes.
There's this concept of men in uniform being put in camps, and this is 2021, but the team that we work together with, we've worked out a way that we think we need to integrate the men in uniform into the normal environment. And I think the requirements to join some of these organizations need to be reviewed and revisited. The kind of training they are taken through needs to be relevant to the times. And I don't think those roles need to be punitive. And we need to understand that Mwananchi is not the enemy, the police are not the enemy, but because these are human beings, we're interacting. These are people's fathers, these are people's mothers.
Yes.
So in one way or another, we can't look at them as an outcast, but I think we need to sit at the table and have a common understanding, and of course have relevant training for both the people who are dealing with the police and the police at large, such that we don't create this animosity between the two of us. And I feel like integration of this particular group of people into the community is very good, because then they understand what they need to protect.
Again, just Dorothy on the same. It's very critical. You see, when you say we want to integrate, we are in a country where we are trying to put these institutions to be independent. So when you talk about integration, are we going to affect the position of independency?
We need to understand what the role of these institutions are. It's not just an institution. What is their role? What are they supposed to provide? What are they there for, these institutions? And of course, these institutions are set up under our constitution to protect and to ensure the security for the nation. And this nation are people. Nation is not like an alien subject. It's the people. So then this institution, we need to be more we need a mind shift when it comes to some of these institutions and these organizations and what they do. And I think until we understand that, and the people within those institutions understand that, and we're able to maybe change and diversify and make it relevant, because it's no longer relevant. Like I was saying, it doesn't make sense why in 2021 a man or woman lives in a metallic house in a camp, which doesn't make sense. If there's an issue within the community, we have to call for these people as outsiders to come into the community and solve a community problem. But if they're inside, then it's easier to solve the problem from inside towards the outside. Because if these people are within the environment, then they are able to see. If they're criminals within the environment, they're able to see beforehand. You understand? They're part of the society.
If I'm not wrong, Dorothy, on that particular bit of integration again with the housing and all that aspect, I can recall as a government, the current government, they put up a policy where police officers would no longer be needed to stay in their stations, but they would rent houses within the vicinity where they're working. Don't you think that was also a model where they were trying to implement whatever you say?
Yeah, actually the policy is a good paper.
Yeah.
But the implementation hasn't taken effect.
Is the challenge.
It's the challenge, because you can't say you want a police officer, let's say for instance within the high-end areas, are supposed to rent out spaces within the high-end areas, but you know how much they earn. You understand?
Very, very
So
true.
how practical is that? And then you look at the allowances they're given, like housing allowance. Is it practical?
Yeah.
You understand?
Yes.
And I don't think, if you look at the first world, for instance, these roles are voluntary. You volunteer to be an officer. You volunteer to be in the army. It's not, they don't look at your teeth. They're those things we look at and I'm like, how does it mean having 32 teeth? How does that make you a better officer? You understand? There are things we look at that don't matter. I don't think when you're going to war, you're going to deal with a criminal. The first thing they'll tell you is, open your mouth, let's see how many teeth you have. You understand? It's about your skill set. It's about your ability to diffuse a very volatile environment. Because right now the entire country is angry
Very true, very true.
How
Sammy,
do you diffuse that?
from your end where you sit, I can hear you just, your mind.
Yes, just running wild. Many questions. In fact, I know you've touched on a few points, and I just want to bring you back. If because you are leading a charge, all right, and you are representing, you will be representing a majority. My first question would be, what is your agenda?
My agenda, that there are four main things that are very dear, and then there's everything that falls within those four.
Yeah.
The first thing we need to observe is this country, we're in the state we're in, because we've reached a state where no one wants to uphold the rule of law. That is the first thing that we need to look at. And then, of course, if the other issues come because of lack of employment, lack of income, I don't think what we are asking for is something that we cannot achieve. So for me, I want to focus on the issue around industrialization. And when I talk about industrialization, I'm talking about social industrialization and economical industrialization, which means we're able to create jobs and we're able to push out individuals who have the right skill set. I'll use a case in point. Right now, there's a lot of development when it comes to infrastructure in this country, but you're seeing we're even shipping in labor to come and do something that we purport to produce individuals who are qualified in this space.
Yeah.
So the question comes to, you remember the first thing, rule of law. What does the law stipulate about certain jobs?
Okay.
What are then we have institutions that fall under, of course, we have the labor laws. We have bodies that are supposed to govern how we bring in people, like how we import labor. Those are things, are we able to uphold it? So that goes back to, you remember, the upholding the rule of law, which is the first thing. We need to observe this. And there are people who are in places who are supposed to implement this, which is, of course, the judicial effectiveness. Can we say the judiciary is effective in implementing some of these things, or people are sleeping on their jobs?
Okay.
Then we have the legislature, which is the other function of the government. Are they coming up with laws that protect the Kenyan, or are we protecting? Who are we protecting? Let me say that. Who are we protecting? So for me, everything is centered around that. And then if I'm able to actually win on the first two, industrialization, even the kind of investment we're bringing in, there's the foreign direct investment that we're able to attract. Kenya is greatly positioned in terms of attracting foreigners. But why is it that business is being pushed to our neighbors and not to our country? It's because our governance does not create a conducive environment, not just for foreigners. Let us look at the youth in this country. We're talking about young people who we're encouraging through these procurement opportunities for the marginalized groups. But are these people even paid? How many youth can rise today and say, I did this job with this particular institution and I got paid? You understand?
On the same, Dorothy, I want to believe I will we'll discuss that further, because, Sammy, it was so funny how we have the 30% procurement opportunities for young people.
Correct.
But the people getting those opportunities are not the young people.
Exactly.
Because you have a porous system. I'll say. A porous system. And then there is this thing called deep state. Again, she has mentioned a lot of things in regards to the judiciary and the rule of law. We are privy to a lot of leakages happening right now. We have the former governor of Nairobi throwing things on social media, left, right, and center, about the rot in the judiciary. If you become, or if you are the president of this republic, Dorothy, what do you feel you are going to do different?
Newton, to answer that question, you need to understand the role of the president is to oversee.
Yes.
And there are so many organizations and establishments.
But the buck stops with the presidency.
Yes, the buck stops with. That's let me just bring you up to speed.
Yes, please.
The president is supposed to oversee, but we've put institutions that are paid through the taxpayers' money.
Yes.
To make sure these things do not happen. You understand?
Yes.
So we can't go to the president and say, what are you going to do? We need to start with, why do we have these institutions in place if they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Dorothy.
And
Yes.
before you go to the next thing,
Yes.
so we need to attribute the right roles to the right institution. If we're saying, for instance, whatever you just mentioned
Yes.
is happening,
Yes.
we need to look at what kind of an environment enabled whatever is happening to happen. You understand?
Yes.
And we cannot say that it did not happen or it happened. But what is it that is enabling these behaviors? So we need to understand the root cause of most of these problems. And we can't just push the final role to the final man. Yet we have people in parliament who are supposed to, what are they supposed to do? Enact laws and make laws. Then we have people within the judiciary system who are supposed to have taken up this issue. We have the public prosecutor who's supposed to have initiated the process. You understand? We have so many organizations.
Dorothy, just hold that thought. This is Icon Radio. The show is The Race. Your host is Newton. And here we are bold, authentic, and fearless. We are here to discuss matters of national interest. And here we have a presidential candidate. We take a short break and we'll be right back. Don't go away.
Icon Radio.
Welcome back to Icon Radio. Your host Newton. The show is The Race. Bold, authentic, and fearless. Dorothy,
Yes, Newton.
you're going for the high seat.
Yes.
It's not a joke.
Yes.
You need to be bold.
I'm very bold.
You need to be fearless.
I'm very fearless. I am.
What are you going to do differently? Sammy,
Yes.
we have a president here.
Yes.
What are you going to do differently, Dorothy?
Newton.
Yes.
There's a lot. There's a state we're in. There's a state we want to go to. There's always going to be continuous improvement.
Yes.
The one thing that I've said that I need to make sure that we thrive in is change the kind of governance we have, create a conducive business environment, industrialize this country to create jobs, make sure we're pushing out quality education, individuals who are able to not just compete in the Kenyan market, but compete in the international market. Of course, that is having relevant education systems.
Yes.
Of course, we're going to oversee that we make Kenya the safest country it will ever be. That is top of the list. That anyone can be able to do what they want.
But you know, Mheshimiwa, these are very, very noble causes.
Yes.
And very nice to think about. But we have a reality.
Yes.
We have no money. Our country is in.
We have excessively.
There is no country.
Where will we get the financing to do these things?
If you look at the world as a whole, there's no country that has money. You understand? You remember they were saying the entire world is in debt in trillions. In trillions. You understand what I mean?
Yes.
The entire world is in debt. But by making sure we industrialize this country, this increases our purchasing power. If we have something that we're pushing out, let me use a case and point. We have the SGR, which is a very beautiful project. It can be better than it is. But they're saying the containers come in full, they leave out empty. You understand? We're not pushing anything out. That does not make sense. So that means we have no money to use to trade, which means we have to borrow money. Notice about this conversation, we need to have conversations that involve economists, people who understand the power of demand and supply. We can't just demand, and we're not supplying. In an efficient system, there has to be a supply system. So we go back to what are we good at as Kenyans? That means we go back to look at the GDP. What are our biggest contributors to the GDP? What does that translate to in terms of labor force?
Yes.
Which sector is taking the highest amount of labor force and what is the output in terms of GDP? Those are the areas we focus on and we improve. There is no perfection in whatever system. I know people are looking for, let me use a savior.
Yeah.
There is no savior. There is no savior.
Yes.
It's just about, we want just basic things. As young people in this country, I think even you, Newton, you just want to sleep in a safe environment. You want an affordable healthcare system, a universal healthcare system.
Yes.
You want safety, whatever you work for. You don't want to walk in town and you're scared someone is going to snatch something from you in broad daylight. You want an education system that makes you competitive. Then everything else comes after that. You just want to eat and be able to afford your life.
Yeah.
And I don't think the Kenyan youth are very lazy people. We are very hardworking.
Yeah.
People are coming up with projects day in, day out, but we're constantly killing them. We need to understand as a country, taxation is not an economic activity. I don't know who's advising
Yeah, I
the
hear
people
young
in
people
leadership.
say,
Right now, if you start something, KRA is there. KRA should be involved in part of developing young people. Then tax.
Yeah.
You don't just wait for someone to go to the bank, struggle with the government, do a government tender probably. Wait for 5 years to be paid.
Yes.
Probably you might never even be paid.
yes,
Then they are there. 5 years later, there is the time value of money. A shilling today will not buy you the same thing in 2-3 years.
they say
So
a
that's what I'm
shilling
saying.
today
Like, as
is
a
better.
country, we must protect our people.
Very
We
true.
must. And that's what I want to oversee and make sure it happens.
But Dorothy,
Yes, Sammy?
I know, it's sometimes, when having discussions like
Yeah.
these,
Yeah.
you feel like, again, we go back to the cause.
Yes.
But, there is still that element that really needs to be addressed.
Yes.
Yes. That we need to put in so that we can
Get
put out.
out.
all
Yes,
right?
yes.
Okay. But the problem is we don't have the necessary resources to put in because, and the way I see it, we're largely spending a lot of, the national budget paying back.
Paying, not just
Alright,
back,
paying
paying
back.
salaries. We're
Alright.
actually borrowing
Recurrent
money.
expenditure.
OPEX,
Yes.
operating
Borrowing.
expenditure. We're
Correct.
borrowing to pay salaries
Correct.
to institutions that are not working. And you're saying the president is supposed to oversee. You understand?
Yeah.
Then some of the institutions need either to be privatized or shut down. There's a lot of replication of, you understand, the same role is being played by 10 different organizations.
Yeah.
We can streamline the system. We can add value to the chain,
Yeah.
and we can make sure the supply chain system is lean. There are a lot of wastages in this country. We cannot borrow money to pay salaries. That does not make sense.
Very true.
That does not make sense. We borrow money, we pay salaries, we tax these people, we pay back debt. That does not make sense. That is not even sustainable.
Correct. So now my question here then is, how will you now create a more positive investment climate in the country?
And investment, to also explain on the same question you're saying, investment doesn't necessarily mean that we have to get foreigners to bring in money.
True.
We can look at countries like Singapore,
Yes.
whereby even the local person is encouraged to invest in their own economy. If you look at places, let's talk about like the big brands that we know, shoe brands, whereby people in the US, you're told you bought stocks in this, stocks in that, stock. You understand? There's the stock business, where people just invest in their own business. But now, if I'm going to invest in a factory in this country, that I am not even sure that when the big man goes after it, it will die. You understand? We're living in a country whereby young people are putting their savings into, is it a Ponzi schemes?
Pyramid scheme. Is it?
That's what we say, pyramid schemes. But yes, we have oversight authorities which are supposed to protect the Kenyan money. And you hear that person close shop and left. What happened to the legal system? How did these people set up office in this country? And how did these people disappear with people's money? Then a week later, the same person comes up and shop under a different name. Does the same thing. And nothing is done. That is what I'm talking about. The fact that Kenyans can put money into construction and they want their houses built and they're willing. Of course, there's the banking system, which is also supposed to provide affordable loans to Kenyans to do things. Those are things we need to look into. I don't think, Sami, we are as poor as we'd like to believe. I think we are a wealthy nation.
Yes.
We just need the right things to be done, and we need people to uphold the rule of law, and we need to make sure that the government protects its people first.
You see, just in light of the same, you know, we are one of the most highly taxed nations in Africa.
Yes.
Because I'm all about Africa. I'm not about those other
The other
sides.
countries.
As much as we are competitive. But we are one of the most highly taxed nations in Africa.
Yes.
And the reason I go into the investment climate
Yes.
is because I feel like one of the solutions is to getting us back on track is by enabling the private sector.
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So my question is, if you agree with me, what do you intend to do? Because on the one hand, we are taxing Raya so much, yeah, to the point where Raya don't even want to declare their true position, and therefore, they're not even paying adequate tax, right? So the question is, and because the reality is people are not feeling, what the government is doing for them, yeah. But so what is your position in terms of taxation in the private sector?
Yeah. Now, Dorothy, just before you comment on that, this is Icon Radio KA. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. The discussion is about politics. The show is the race. Tune in for bold, authentic, and fearless political show. Your most favorite political show in town. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
Icon Radio.
Welcome back to Icon Radio. The show is the race. We are bold, authentic, and fearless. Dorothy.
Yes.
On tax and private sector business. What do you have to say?
I'd like to mention it doesn't matter whether it's the government or private sector that is contributing to the economy in whatever way. I think we should be able to hold our own and, of course, refocus. Where does the tax go? The tax burden needs to be lowered on the Kenyan mwananchi, tunasema mwananchi. And then we need to, of course, look at lowering government spending. On non-issues, of course, create a lean system. Everything needs to be accounted for. There are things that need to be reviewed, and I don't know how they were approved within the government spending. I don't understand why we have a lot of wastages in terms of, I'm looking at things like these grand celebrations that we hold. For, I think we have so many holidays, and we have to hold Madaraka Day, Jamudu Day. No, I don't want to take a holiday away. But I don't think it should be taxpayers' money that covers those celebrations.
But it's government functions, so where do you want them to finance them
That's
from?
what I'm saying. Like we're in 2021. If we are poor, why are we throwing parties? You understand? Because part of the money that we're borrowing is going to some of these functions. That's why we need to really focus on what's important to the nation. Do we need those celebrations? Is it really, really important? I'm not taking the holiday away or the celebration of the day away. But can we do within reason? Can we lower the budget on some of those things? Those are things we need to look into. Then when it comes to, if you look at, let me use a country like South Africa. All their all the people, the leaders serve in one particular place, and they're all positioned in one particular town, which is it Cape Town? No, it's in Cape Town, actually. That's where all of them live. And all these leaders, we should pick even one estate for them. Tuseme hii ni yao na tuwakate rent. You understand? Si wengine wanaishi mlolongo. You understand? I'm talking about wastages that we have. There are a lot of wastages we have that are not necessary.
Very, very true, Dorothy.
Then we're taking cars and zina consume 16, I don't know, V8s. And we're putting very powerful cars on the road, and we're creating this narrative that all these leaders live a certain life, which is a facade, and it's not the reality. That we need to look into. Then, if we encourage them to drive V8s, that's why some of these roads, high-end areas right now, if you look at the state of roads, you'd be shocked. But if this person is in a V8, how do you even feel potholes? We have potholes in Lavington.
Very true, very true.
Those are things we need to look into.
Yes, Dorothy, and I agree with you. There's something, Sammy, just in regards to the car issues and taxation. You know, it is funny how in Kenya, if you import an 80-year-old car, you pay higher taxes. No, you pay lesser taxes than someone who imports a brand new car. How funny is that? Because I believe where I stand, as a country, we need to encourage people to bring in new cars. So the taxes should be lower at this point when you're bringing in a new zero-mileage car than when you're bringing in a 7-8-year-old car. To encourage the people, because climate change is real.
It's a real
and
issue.
It is really affecting
It's a real
us.
issue.
Dorothy.
Yes.
And as I told you, we are bold,
You're authentic.
authentic, and fearless. Dorothy, you're going for presidency. Are you going independent? Uko na chama, wacha niseme hivyo. Uko na chama, Dorothy.
I like this question
Yes.
a lot. Newton, it's too early to declare. It's too early. I'm within the constitutional requirements and timelines. It's still too early to pick a chama. It's too early to pick a side. It's too early to pick a narrative. But we need to focus on the vision. The vision is Dorothy Kemunto Nyangori will be in the ballot.
Nikienda kura next year, Sami, tutapata Dorothy kwa debe.
I hope wanieke mtu wa kwanza huko juu.
Unajua lakini hajatuambia. Mimi nataka kusikia.
Unataka kusikia nini?
Utasimama kama wewe chama chako ama
I'm within the constitutional requirement or space. But
are you afraid to pick a party, Dorothy?
why would I be afraid? I'm going for the president.
But be fearless. Be fearless, Dorothy. On this show, you're fearless.
declare on Icon Radio.
Declare right now on Icon Radio. Our listeners want to know, Bana. Yes, Dorothy.
Like I said,
Yes.
the most important thing for me is what we want to achieve for the country. And if there is a party
Yes.
that we have similar ideologies
Yes.
and we can work together to achieve what we intend to achieve for this country, then we will sit at the table. I'm not stubborn. Ama hiyo yenye unataka kuniweka pressure niseme niko hapa. But I'm just telling you that the conversation
from this discussion. Help me understand, bro. Dorothy,
amekataa chama.
she's not fearless to state her position. Yeah. But again, she has a critical thought around it.
Yes.
But again, Sami, but running a presidential campaign is not a joke.
Yes.
It's very expensive.
Very expensive. Even the IBC limitation ya 2 billion.
Yes.
Bana sijui kama
Si mchezo.
ba.
Si mchezo. Dorothy,
mana.
we know she has the money. Dorothy unatoa wapi?
Hii pesa inatoka wapi bana? Where are your finances coming from, Dorothy bana?
I don't know why that there is the IBC requirement, and I think to also inform the country.
Yes.
They talk about the maximum that you're expected to spend.
I guess it is 2 billion, Sami bana. 2 billion bana. 2 billion.
Maximum. That is the maximum you're allowed to spend. You understand? So between 0 to 2 billion, there are numbers there. I don't know who came up with this outright figure. But the IBC falls under the Constitution. Yeah. It's a body that the Constitution is supreme.
Yes.
Whatever laws they have fall under the Constitution. So I need you to ask me what the Constitution stipulates that I need to have, not what IBC. IBC is a governing body that is formed under the Constitution. So what I'll ask that, Sami and Newton, how much does the Constitution require me to have to vie for the presidency?
Dorothy, Sami, from whatever Dorothy is telling us, bro, I'm telling you,
Dorothy natuchenga. She's playing politician.
She's playing politics with us.
I'm playing leadership. I have to lead. I'm playing leadership.
In this country, bana, you have to have money, Sami. Ukuwe na pesa bana.
It's not even a hidden story.
It's a fact.
The last campaign, how many billions?
A lot of billions.
And what was the impact of those billions
2 billion
to the
is what
economy?
even was spent by junior leaders.
Going for senator.
It was spent. Yes, exactly. A presidential candidate.
Let me help summarize this issue. Like I was talking about economics,
Yes.
It's very important we don't mislead the country in whatever we're saying. I need you to understand when we say we need an individual or a party to inject 2 billion.
Yeah.
And imagine if you're 100 of us. I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
I know it's just a requirement or a setup or an ideology. But imagine if we're 100 people vying for the presidency and each individual injects 2 billion that is unaccounted for.
Yeah.
What does that do to an economy? Newton umesoma.
Yeah.
What does that do to an economy?
I know it will impact.
What is the impact on the economy?
Inflation.
So if I'm talking about developing a country, then you can't do harmful things and still purport to be for the country. I'm not saying don't spend the money. I'm just saying we need to look at things, not just the face value. We need to understand the intention and whatever we are doing and the impact these things have on the
Dorothy.
country. But in summary, I'm trying to say I'm okay. I will run the campaign successfully and we will be on the ballot.
Dorothy,
Yes.
who is your inspiration?
In different spaces, there are different sources of inspiration.
In this particular aspect of you going for the presidency,
Looking at the women
leadership.
who've gone before me, the Kenyan women who've gone before me, who are doing and who have done great things. Of course, I saw I'm being compared to the great Wangari Maathai. I'm compared to, I think, Martha Karua and Charity Ngilu. These are women who've made it possible for us as women to have this dream.
Yes.
Of course, you're looking at the president actually in Tanzania. You're looking at Salif Johnson. I'm looking at Uganda has a female vice president, and most people don't know that Tanzania we have a president. We're looking at Kamala Harris, the first female vice president in the first world. So for me, I'm not just looking. I'm looking at Germany, the lady who was at the forefront. Yeah, she was at the forefront fighting against COVID. So I'm looking at first at the great women, women who've created this space and women who've enabled me to have these kind of dreams. But on my personal life, of course, it's my mother.
Wow.
She's a very strong woman, so
She must be so proud of
I think
no, those are women, but there are men that I also look up to. You
You might
understand?
just mention them?
The men that inspire me.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm looking at Obama, the first black president. In a comedy space, I'm looking at people like, that one is controversial, so we will hold on to it.
but just before we wrap up,
Yes.
first, I want to applaud you because
Thank you.
in a country that's not very inclusive with the gender, because you're youth as well,
Yes.
where we have a government that's not, they try to be, but they're not yet there. I really applaud you for what it is that you're doing now and in your aspirations. But I have one question. Yeah. Truthfully, Dorothy,
Yes.
do you believe it is possible?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dorothy,
Yes.
for coming to the show. This is Icon Radio, where we are bold, authentic, and fearless. Our guest today has been Dorothy Kemunto. She's contesting for the presidential. She wants to lead Kenya to the land of honey. From Icon Radio, we wish you all the best. Join us every Monday from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. The show is The Race. I've been your host, Newton. My co-host,
I'm Sammy Myra.
thank you very much.
Icon Radio, your number one entertainment plug.
Good morning. Welcome. This is Icon Radio. Your host, Newton Hamasi. The Race. We are bold, authentic, and fearless. Today, my guest is interesting. A young person from Kericho County. A lawyer. A lot of things, Sammy, have been happening in our country. Philip Langat, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Newton, for having me in this show. Indeed, it is a privilege to have to be part of this show called The Race. And it is also a privilege to have this discussion, especially at this time of the season, when we are expecting a lot of political activity in this country. So thank you very much once again for inviting me.
Welcome. Sammy,
Yes.
we have been having a lot of issues in this country.
Yes.
Our listeners, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Icon Radio KE. Tupate pia kwa mtandao www.iconradio.ke. Sammy, as a country, sio general Miguna, sio prison break,
Sio the arrest of the DCI.
Sio the arrest of the DCI bana. Nani alishika DCI bana?
Nani huyo? Nani huyo?
Nani alishika
Alimweka
DCI?
pingu.
Yani we have a state where the commissioner for prisons is under arrest
Under arrest.
by the DCI.
Yes.
And the DCI himself, the director of criminal investigation himself,
Not 2 days later.
not 2 days later. Amefungwa bwana miezi 4 bwana.
Anafaa. Yani koti ndio ilisema, sio mimi nasema.
A judge ruled.
A judge sentenced him 4 months.
Philip, from a legal perspective, are we in a banana republic?
No. If you ask me, we are not in a banana republic.
Yes.
Of course, the affairs, the activities that have taken place in the past few days in this country are very interesting, so to speak.
Yes.
But then again, I would want to tell our viewers and our listeners that for me, if you ask me, that is the step in the right direction. We are actually headed to where other jurisdictions are in terms of enforcing the law and in terms of enforcing what we call obedience of the law.
Yes.
Because if you remember, for example, during the times of Moi, for example, we used to be under what we call judicial restraint, where judges and magistrates were very fearful of the then regime. Okay, they could not make decisions that will even affect a public officer in the manner that we have seen in the past few days. But of course, we are coming out of that political era. We are going to an era where a judge can make a decision so big, all right, like jailing the DCI.
But again,
so we are moving from a judicial restraint to judicial activism.
In very many inverted commas. Because I feel we're going back to those days. Because, it's I mean, this is how I feel. The law is very selective. It's very selective.
Actually, on my end, I support that selectivity of the law. But again, I ask myself, if the president of the Republic of Kenya has been undermining the court orders that is being served, how do you expect the junior person to obey them?
Exactly.
Is it just a comical environment? Do we have a toothless judiciary?
You know,
which is not independent, Philip?
Yes. I mean, there is a lot of questions surrounding that area of whether the judiciary is really independent. And whether the judiciary is a toothless bulldog. If you ask me, it is not a toothless bulldog. Because the judiciary is not supposed to enforce. It's only supposed to give directions. So, for example, if the judge says, go and arrest DCI Kinoti, it is not for the judiciary to go and arrest because the judiciary does not have policemen.
The arresting powers.
The arresting powers. But it now works in conjunction with the policemen now who are supposed to go and arrest Mr. Kinoti, for example. But you see, DCI. Now in this case, the DCI, the arresting authority is the police again, who are under him. So who are under his command. So you can see the kind of confusion that we have. But where we are right now, to the best of my knowledge, the DCI went to court again and appealed that issue. And I think the Court of Appeal have issued a stay order saying that the DCI should not be arrested pending the hearing and determination of his application not to be arrested. So it is but where is it in terms of where we have come from as a country? We are going into an era where orders, despite such orders being or rather not being obeyed, but we are moving into that area where courts are issuing orders against big men, so to speak, quote unquote, unlike previously where
they would fear.
They would not even think about such a thing. You understand? And I'll give an example just before you proceed. If you remember the case of Dadaab, the refugee case, where Justice Odunga himself, when he was sitting in Milimani High Court before he was transferred to Machakos, he issued an order against the government, telling the government of Kenya in their face that repatriation and relocation of refugees must be voluntary. You understand? Because the government, through the CS for Interior and Coordination, Mr. Matiangi, had ordered the closure of Dadaab.
Yes, in like 2 weeks or 14.
Like
was it
2
14
weeks.
days?
Yes, in 14 days, which was very irrational and very illegal. So Justice Odunga came out clearly and said nothing like that is going to happen. And remember, this was an order against the government. So for me, it is we are coming from that area where judicial officers were a bit scared,
afraid.
all right,
And
against the government, to an area where now we are actually totally facing the government head on, and
Fearlessly.
more so fearlessly, because if you and especially in light of the fact that the current opposition, or rather what we used to call opposition, is no longer an opposition. It has gone to bed with the government. So the only line of defense that we have is the judiciary of this country.
But if the judiciary, per se,
Yes,
I
Sam.
still feel like it's, no offense to anybody, but, again, one, very selective,
Yeah.
all right? And two, look, if they cannot enforce, right, then who polices? I know there's an expectation because that is, the duty of that belongs to somebody else or a different function. But in our case, let's just be frank here. Who is going to arrest the DCI? Yeah? who would in their right mind walk into these guys' place and arrest
Sammy, did you see what happened at the Magereza place?
Yeah.
Headquarters. Did you see?
Yeah, I did.
Did you see the drama?
I did.
You see this guy, even the men, the Magereza officers, the prison's warders, they were shocked. They were scared to the bone. And their boss was taken away. Why can't we have the same with DCI?
Exactly. Who polices the DCI?
Who polices the DCI? Again, the same question, Philip, just before you respond.
Yes.
When you talk about independency, if an institution fails to act on their responsibility in this country, I'm talking about the judiciary, which is independent, the police service, which is independent, and all this independency is enshrined in our constitution, Philip. If they fail to carry out their responsibility,
Yes.
whom will we run to?
That's a very interesting question, actually, so to speak.
Yes.
Yes, who should we run to?
Exactly.
Because the judiciary on one hand is supposed to be independent.
Yes.
The police service commission is supposed to be independent.
Yes.
I mean, the enforcing authorities, each and every single organ
Yes.
is supposed to be independent.
Very true.
But I just am right here to maybe hold brief for the judiciary, because that is where, as a lawyer, I am versed with the happenings within the judiciary.
Yes.
What I can say about the judiciary is, for them is just to issue, is just to give directions, matters legal. But when it comes to enforcement, that is purely a function of the police service.
Yes.
You understand?
But if they
Utumishi kwa wote.
But if you can't enforce, what's the point?
The director of prosecution,
What is the point?
Haji,
Truly, what is the
has
point?
been going through a lot of challenges of late. People are fighting from this corner. He cannot do his job independently. Philip, let us face it and let us state it as it is.
Is this judiciary really working? Is
Is the
working?
independence
Is there a
still
point?
working?
Yes.
Because I will wish to have a country where, yes, we are progressive. But if you look at the circumstances, Sammy and Philip, honestly, we are living in a banana republic. Sorry to say. But on Icon Radio, the race, we are bold, authentic, and fearless. We don't fear anyone. Are you getting me, Philip? We don't fear anyone. We'll say it as it is, boldly as it is, because we need to talk. We need to talk. We need to say it. As we take a break, our listeners on the other end, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Icon Radio KE. www.iconradio.co.ke. The race. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
Icon Radio, your number one entertainment plug.
Welcome back. This is Icon Radio. Your entertainment, your number one entertainment plug. We're here for a fearless, authentic, and bold discussion. In our studio today is Philip Langat from Kericho County. Philip,
Yes.
2022 is around the corner.
Yes.
I've had conversations. You have political interest in Kericho.
Exactly.
Tell us more.
Well, I come from Kericho County, that is for sure.
Yeah.
My major interest in in Kericho County, as far as politics is concerned, is basically what the people of Kericho County want. I am not contesting for any seat in Kericho County.
Why not? Why not, Philip? But we'll come to that.
We'll come to that. For now, we are looking at some of the few candidates that have offered themselves to run for the position of governor, for example, gubernatorial position. And mine is basically to assist, in selling the agenda of such candidates. And in particular, the candidature of one Dr. Mutai.
Dr. Mutai.
Dr. Mutai. Dr. Mutai is a visionary, ambitious and young gentleman who is a lecturer currently at the University of Embu.
Wow.
And he's coming in to inject a fresh, lease of life to the gubernatorial politics of Kericho County. Of course, we have an outgoing governor, Professor Chepkwony. He has done his bit. But the people of Kericho County, for the first time, all right, after the advent of the 2010 Constitution, they have a candidate whom they can resonate with, a candidate who is young, a candidate who understands both the topography, the political, the social, and economic needs of the people of Kericho County. And that is one gentleman called Dr. Mutai.
So, just to be very direct, what does Dr. Mutai possess that, the people should trust, right, that he'll deliver?
Well, that's a very interesting. I like that question because that is a question that each political aspirant should be asked. What is this unique idea or what is this unique kind of thing that you are bringing to the table that should make you outshine the rest? Well, Dr. Mutai, like I've said, and I started by saying he's a young, gentleman. Is a lecturer and he understands. What we need to know is, first of all, whether these candidates understand what they want. You understand? The first parameter that we should use to evaluate a candidate is, does he understand what he needs? Does he understand the needs of the electorates? You understand? So for Dr. Mutai, what I can say, the unique bit about him is that he really understands the needs of the people. He has the statistics of Kericho County at hand. For example, he was talking about the universal health care principle and how it should be replicated at the county level. For example, in Kericho County, we have a budgetary allocation of around 800 million Kenya shillings, and this is an amount that is big enough to roll out what we call universal health care at the county level. For example, he intends to have all the residents of Kericho County under NHIF cover, because let's be honest, with a budget of 800 million shillings, you can put the entire county under NHIF scheme. You understand? And then he also spoke about the so many dispensaries that we have across the county, for example. But you see, the challenge that we have with such dispensaries is that they don't have medicine, they don't have skilled personnel, they don't have such kind of things. So he is coming in to collapse these small dispensaries and set up serious hospitals that are equipped with all the medicines, all the personnel, all the, this fully equipped, fully fledged hospitals, instead of having very many dispensaries that are not even equipped. You understand? So this is the kind of person who when he speaks, all the professionals, and I'm speaking here as a professional, all the professionals who know what our country needs would easily vote for Dr. Mutai. He doesn't have to spend, he doesn't have to use, he doesn't have to go out there like the traditional politician to spend money. He just comes out, states his policies, and that is it.
But Philip, tusidanganyane bana Sami.
Yes.
Sami. Huyu Philip hapa anataka tudanganyane bana. Siasa bila pesa inawezekana.
Haiwezi. I don't know. Wacha nimuongezee, you know. Lecturers like politicians are great orators. They speak with a lot of fluidity.
Yes.
But you know, for me to judge, he must have a track record.
Exactly.
What track record does Dr. Mutai have that would actually convince me?
Yeah?
This is the right man.
Yes. You know, I don't want to speak on his behalf so much because, again, we are going to have him on radio one of these fine days, hopefully, and he should be in a position to answer that question. But for me, like I said, I'm coming in as a professional who is at the periphery, who is looking at things from the periphery. Yeah. All right. For example,
neutral point of view.
Exactly, a neutral point of view. I don't want to say something that Daktari or Dr. Mutai, the incoming gubernatorial aspirant of Kericho County, will not, will feel uncomfortable. We will be unfair to him because he's not here to defend himself. Yeah. But of course, his track record, he will outline it when the right time comes. But for me, as a bystander, as a neutral figure, I feel that he is the right person. All right.
Again, Philip, I bring you to this serious discussion that has been going around.
Yes.
We have the bottom-up
economy. Yes.
Now you tell me, Philip.
Yes.
The people of Kericho are UDA.
Yes.
What is this bottom-up, Bana Philip?
And Dr. Mutai is UDA.
Yes.
And an academic.
Yes.
So tell us, Bana, what is the doctor bringing?
Yes.
What is he bringing? What is this bottom-up? Because we have had people failing and being unable to explain what bottom-up is.
Exactly. Well, I like really, that is a big question right now. That is the elephant in the room.
Yes.
Everyone is asking about bottom-up economics. For Dr. Mutai, bottom-up economics is very simple.
Yes.
It's just about understanding what the common man wants at the lowest level, and then enabling that particular thing, or rather creating a conducive environment for that particular young ule mkulima mdogo pale chini, so that mkulima mdogo can be able to grow, all right, from the bottom up.
But again, Philip, as you just described that,
yes.
Sami, we have devolution.
Yes.
What has devolution done?
Actually, one of the greatest failures, I feel,
Devolution.
has been in
So if devolution has failed, in your opinion, Sami, bwana tuambiane ukweli bwana. Let us be fearless here. And let us be bold. But again, we remember to be authentic.
Exactly.
I just want to be clear.
Yes.
The concept of devolution is very good.
Yeah. Huh?
Because this is about the redistribution
Of resources from the head down. Yeah.
When I talk about failure, I talk about the people occupying those positions have failed us.
To implement the model.
Have failed in the implementation.
But again, Sami and Philip, as we talk about Kericho, devolution has really impacted other counties that are so impressively doing well. Examples are like Kakamega County. We have had counties that are doing amazingly well. And we are seeing people growing, like Meru County, where the governor is Kiraitu. Things are working magic. But now again, you bring in the bottom-up model. Philip, do you think it's going to bring magic to our economy?
Newton, I like this is really fearless. This is bold, authentic, and fearless. Well, and
that is our business,
that is our business. I like what Sami has said. Sami has said that devolution in itself is a blessing. We have seen a redistribution of national resources to the county level thanks to devolution. So indeed, it's a concept that is a blessing to all of us. But also, Sami has said something that has really impressed me, that it is not devolution that has failed. It is the people.
The people we have entrusted.
The people we have entrusted to run devolution in this
Yes,
country.
yes.
And that is why you see, as you have rightly said,
Yes.
that there are some counties that have progressed, there are some that are, they have not progressed, and there are some that have not taken off since devolution started.
Very true.
And that boils down to the individual traits
Yes.
and not the concept devolution
concept
itself.
devolution.
And that is why, for example, in Kericho County, we are saying, of course, Professor Chepkwony is doing his final term. We wish him all the best after retirement.
Yes.
But in Kericho, we are bringing someone again who understands devolution better,
Yes.
If you look at all the contestants, and I think there are two major contestants right now. Dr. Mutai is leading so far,
Yeah.
and the second is coming a distant second. I think is another young lawyer.
Are you authentically saying that you have done elections already?
No, I'm saying in terms of the pollsters,
Perception.
in terms of the perceptions that we have in the ground. Of course, Dr. Mutai is leading. And the reason why he's leading is because he has appealed to the interest of both the common mwananchi pale ground and also the professionals.
Wow.
The professionals like me,
Wow.
who understand devolution. He is the right person, he is the right bet
Wow.
to engender and to continue that concept of devolution.
I tell you, Philip, this is Icon Radio. Find us or get us on www.iconradio.co.ke. Follow our social media sites, pages, that is Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, Icon Radio KE. I've been your host, Newton. But before we leave, Sammy, what's your parting shot for today?
I still feel, with all the guests that we've had here, I still want one question answered.
Yeah.
We always talk about what I'm going to do, but we never talk about how we're going to do it.
Wow. We talk
One
about
day, we will get the answer.
Yes.
we talk about what,
We always talk
but
about
we
what,
don't talk about how.
never talk about how.
Philip,
Exactly.
what's your parting shot?
My parting shot is very simple, and this one goes to the people of Kericho County.
Yeah.
I want to sit here today and appeal to the people of Kericho County to be extremely on the lookout when it comes to selecting the contestants of gubernatorial position in the county. I want to urge the people of Kericho County to look out for the best. And so far, if you ask me as a professional, from where I sit, Dr. Mutai is the best bet for Kericho County.
Wow. That is for the people of Kericho to decide. Today has been a great day. Every Monday, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Join us on the show, The Race. I'll be your host always and every time for a bold, authentic, and fearless discussion. Thank you so much. See you next time. Enjoy your week and be blessed. Young people, take charge. Thank you very much.
Icon Radio, your number one entertainment plug.